Hello everyone, it's Mark with Launchpad B again, and today I'm coming in with another tutorial, and this time we're using PowerPoint again. Now I am going to kind of pull it into Clipchamp a little bit. I know I've been doing some tutorials lately about clipchamp.com, and since that's the platform I've been using to teach beginners on how to do videography, we'll use that as a platform for this technique I'm going to teach you. Now, a lot of the stuff that I do on PowerPoint is pushing it to do things that it isn't really designed for, but it's very capable of doing. And so what we're gonna do today is create overlays, graphics, transparent images that we can then import into our videos to dress them up a little bit. So let's say, for example, I wanted to put my name at the bottom of the screen, but my software was limited. For example, clipchamp.com does offer some options when it comes to text and animations and things that it does, but it's a very limited bucket. And there are times where maybe you want to be unique, or maybe you want to do your own theme or your own color scheme, or maybe even create some kind of a graphic that is unique to your business. Well, if that's the situation, you're very limited, especially with anything. If you're working with Premiere Pro or if you're working with DaVinci, some of the more complicated things out there, you can do it, but it's not as easy. So what I'm going to teach you today is a very simple way to create your own custom graphics using PowerPoint, and then show you how to bring them into the video. So as an example, this graphic that I have on screen here, this was created for a client called Springwell Water Filtration. I've done a lot of work for them. So I created this graphic specifically for them for their videos. It has kind of a transparency to it. That can be done using PowerPoint. There was also a gentleman that I used to do video editing for who had a YouTube channel. He was based out of India, and he had a bar, and he did all these videos on how to create these cocktails. And so when we were working together, I was creating some overlays for him. And instead of just putting an ingredient on screen, I took it to the next level, added a visual aid to it to kind of help the video pop. And it really made a huge impact. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and take a look at the video we're working with. So here we are in clipchamp.com, and I decided to use firefighters. So let's say we're creating a video for firefighters, or let's say we're doing a video about firefighter training and I want to use a fire hydrant. We're just being random here. So what you can do then, we can go ahead and get a blank screen on PowerPoint, and we're going to start building a graphic. Now I've already got some examples here to some of the things that I showed you on screen. What I've done is I've actually got a fire hydrant here that I already made transparent, which is this one here. And on the right hand side is a fire hydrant that you could pull off the web. Now if we take a look at the internet, you could basically do a fire hydrant search. I always put a comma and the letters PNG. And then what you'll do is you'll find some that have no transparency in the background. This one does. You can tell by these little dashes here. If I were to copy this and then paste it into PowerPoint, it should already be transparent. That's the goal. Now, if you happen to find an image that you love it, but it doesn't have a transparent background, you can make it transparent in PowerPoint. Simply double click on the image. On the top left hand side, you're going to see where it says remove background, and it's going to do its best educated guess. There's a little option here that says mark areas to keep. In the top left, select it, and anything that's purple we want to select, and it'll make that as part of the image. Now if there was anything that was included in here that you didn't want, there's an option that says mark areas to remove, and then you can go ahead and remove those as well. Once you're happy with the image, keep all changes, and now you have a transparent image. Don't know if you knew you could do that or not with PowerPoint, but you absolutely can. Now, timeout. What I'm doing right now is taking copyrighted images off the internet and using them for my own benefit. Technically, it's a copyright infringement. If somebody sees that, they can challenge you for it. If you're working for a corporation and you have haters, you're doing a great job, you're a superstar, somebody's hating on you, they're looking for any opportunity to throw you under the bus, I'm talking to you, Scott. Now that we have our transparent fire hydrant, what we're going to do now is we're going to start to build out our overlay graphic. Now we can do it with just words if we want. I typically like to use bars. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use a bar like this, and then I want to take another bar and I'm going to put it beneath it here. Let's find a color scheme that's kind of cool. If it's a fire hydrant, kind of like this yellowy color here. Let me send this to the background. Let me move to back. There we go. What I'm going to do now is I want this to be kind of a gray color. Yeah, I think I kind of like the way that looks. And then I want that to be kind of transparent. So if we double click on this here, we go under shape effects. I'm sorry, under shape fill. We go under gradient, I'm just going gradient and go under more gradients. We're not actually going to do gradient. What I'm looking for is on the right hand side here is an option to go transparent. And to make sure it's actually working, let's take a look. Let me borrow this guy for a second here. Let me drop him in back there. Let me send him to the back. Boom. You see how that gray is kind of transparent? We could even make this yellowy color kind of transparent if we wanted to as well. We're just going to go to shape fill. Again, we could pick texture if we wanted to. We're going to go to more textures, and again, I only want the transparency. You see how we can make that kind of transparent? So there are options to make things transparent. Now let's go ahead and incorporate a fire hydrant. I like this one here better, so I'm going to go ahead and copy him. We're going to paste him in here. We're going to kind of make him like this. We can kind of rotate him if we wanted to a little bit. We can make him bigger, whatever you want. You can kind of dress it up. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in our text. So let's go ahead and say that we're going to call it firefighter training or something. So let's say the video that we have is training continues. They're continuing to train the firefighters. So what we can do now is we highlight our text and then we can basically enlarge it to our heart's content. We can decide if we want to right justify, center, whatever we like. We can pick any font we want. There are gazillions, lots of fonts in PowerPoint for you to choose from. You can also bold it. You can add a shadow if you wanted to, however you want. If you wanted to add a secondary title down beneath it, we can do that as well. Let's say this training is taking place in Mesa, Arizona. I'm not from Arizona, but that sounds cool to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here under the text align, and I'm going to say align it onto the bottom. There it is right there. We can make that bigger if we wanted to. Bang, bang, bang. If we wanted to make the text red to kind of pop with the fire hydrant, we could do that as well. Now you can go very basic. You can go very complex with this. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. Now, once you get your graphics set up, you basically go in here. You're going to highlight the whole thing, including your image. We're going to right click and we're going to save as picture. Now, whatever you want to call it, you can. The most important thing is that it's saving it as what's called a PNG, which is a portable networks graphics format. Go ahead and select save. And then now what we can do on Clipchamp is we can go ahead and bring in our media. So either we can double click it to bring it in here, or I can just simply drag it in place like this. And there is my graphic. So now I can bring it in and incorporate it here. And once we have the graphic, now it's a matter of positioning it. So I'm going to double click. We want to go ahead and we want to move it. We're going to do picture in picture. We want it on the bottom left, and then we're going to enlarge it. Now, keep in mind that there are going to be limitations with Clipchamp. That's as big as I can get it. If I want to make it a bigger image, I can actually come in here, highlight everything, and just enlarge it to my heart's content, okay? Nice and big, okay? Make the fire hydrant a lot bigger, and then we can save it again as a larger image. That way we can make it larger. You'll have to tinker with this a little bit till you get it right. Again, there are limitations with Clipchamp, but you have now created your own graphic that's custom to you. It's your very own. So if we go ahead and play, see how it looks. This guy's climbing the ladder. Firefighter training continues in Mesa, Arizona. You've now added your own graphic. Now, one of the downsides to doing it this way is that you don't have the ability to have these animated things when it happens, but you do have some abilities here in Clipchamp that are called transform. There's different things you can do with it, but what I use when I do something like this is I use what's called a fade. It's basically a transition. We can say we want it to fade for a half a second, and we want it to fade out for a half a second. Okay, so now what's going to happen is instead of it just appearing, it's going to fade in, and then when it's done showing on screen, it's going to go ahead and fade back out again. That's about all you can do with it, but again, it's a custom graphic, and to be honest, people who are watching your videos are probably more intrigued as to, wow, that's pretty cool, how did you do that? And they're not as concerned about whether it's flying in or zooming around the screen or doing something like flipping or something like that. None of that's really as important. Now, the cool thing is that you're not limited to just making graphics or anything like that. I mean, you can do whatever you need to. If you want to take a car and just put it on screen just because it's transparent and cool, you can do that as well. So there's definitely a lot of things you can do with this technique. I encourage you to give it a shot. Again, it's just PowerPoint and dropping it onto your software. Thanks for watching, and good luck.